Myself, Chinmay Rajan. We'll be having 2 hours today. We'll do elementary commands today, and as we move on, we'll do some advanced things tomorrow, right? So we'll be starting from zero. Assuming you don't know anything, you are first time seeing this something called MATLAB, and we'll be going till something called Simulink, which is sometimes used in industries. First, what is MATLAB? Few instructions, some basic commands, some advanced commands. Punctuation, everyone knows MATLAB. Full form is actually Matrix Laboratory. Many people think it's mathematical laboratory. The very reason is they started initially the company and it was all matrix computations. It was all matrix related. So the name came from that, Matrix Laboratory and MATLAB. And writing is MATLAB. Generally it's a trademark word, so everything is capital. If you check on their website or anywhere, they never write small like the way we'll write generally. So it is always capital, all characters are capital. Company is MathWorks inclusive. They also have an office in Bangalore, which is MathWorks India, and they do also hire some engineers from India. Okay, this is available for Windows, Linux, OS X. What is OS X? Mac OS. There are two things. One is the original MATLAB, which is the text-based, and it has a partner called Simulink, which is the graphical user interface of the same. It has both 32 and 64-bit versions. 2012A was the last version which they took it out for Linux and Mac OS for 32-bit OS. Okay, after that they only released 64-bit versions. For Windows, still they are continuing the 32-bit and 64-bit OS versions. They release version twice a year. First version comes generally in Jan-Feb, that is called A, and the second version is called B. So version number what you will be using is the approximately month and year of release. So some of you might be using 2015 A, B, whatever. 15B has not yet come, I think. So anyway, I generally use 2012 A for a very reason. I have a 32-bit machine and I can just switch across the versions very easily. I don't have to recreate anything, right? And these versions are upward compatible but not downward compatible. So if you create a program using 2015 version or higher versions, there is an option in MATLAB to save as an old version. You just do save as, and there is an option called save it as an old version. Then it will save the same file in an old version and it will work in the old version. But if you don't do that, sometimes some commands it will not work and it will say ki it is a newer version, I can't use it. Okay. It is a proprietary software, quite costly. Any guess for the cost? What will be single license cost? Louder. How much? One license cost? 2 lakh. Any other guess? Crores. Okay. Any other guess? Okay. So thing is, it comes with various editions. Okay, like you have Windows with various editions. So here they also have something called Student Edition, which is there for only 6,000. Okay, but they do not have any of the toolboxes. Okay, only basic version they will give you for only 6,000, and they have a higher version of that which is for some 15,000, some more higher version that is 25,000, and for industry analytics more costly. IIT Bombay has recently purchased this version for some 50 lakh or 60 lakh something. Okay, so what generally IIT Bombay or any such academic institutions, what they purchase is called a network license, in which it allows certain number of users at one point. So they'll buy license for say 500 users. So the first 500 who are on the net, they'll get the access to that version. Okay, if it crosses that limit, it will say you are on hold because somebody else is using it. So generally IIT Bombay and most of these organizations also, they'll buy something called network license. And for this very reason, if you have downloaded from FTP and if you are using that version, that will work only when your net is working and you are on the intranet, you are on the IIT net, because it will authenticate from the IIT server. If you go outside the campus, authentication is not done. It is not like anyone can outside also can use, right? It's only for you people. So like we have this ASC site that opens only from inside. So this license is kept on a server which opens only from inside. So that version will work and it will give you the license activation successful only when you are on the intranet connected to the net. Okay. If you don't want to do that, you know the answer, right? Those of you who don't know, ask your neighboring friend. Never if friend is not knowing, ask me after the class, right? So, okay, the other softwares are Mathematica, which is also for computation. There is Sage Math, also is there. Many such softwares. One almost equivalent software, which is an open source software, is called Scilab. The commands of MATLAB and Scilab are almost identical. There are very small changes. So those who want to do some startup or something, or you want to sell this any point of time, you should better develop codes using Scilab, because that is distributable, that is freely distributable, okay, and that is open source. Although Scilab is being developed after MATLAB is developed, so MATLAB will come up with feature 2 to 5 years later, this will come up with the same feature. So they are way behind right now, but still most of the basic features are covered now by Scilab, okay. And you can also join their development team if you are interested, that is also possible. It is possible to install more than one versions on the same laptop. All you have to do is just give a different installation path, okay. So generally default path is like this, C program files followed by the version number. So you can have multiple versions, right, and based on the need you can use it, right. There are two types of files predominantly nowadays, 2-3 more types have come. Two types, one is .m, which is the text code what we will be writing, and there is something called .mdl, that is the Simulink model. Almost everything you can do using Simulink, you can do using .m, but there are some exceptions, okay. Some things you can do only using .m, some things you can do only using .mdl. When you are doing the installation, you would have seen and noticed it installs hundreds of toolboxes. The main difference between most of these versions that come, so many versions, is they will have some more boxes in these toolboxes, additional features in the toolboxes. Most of the development that happens is on these toolboxes or on the features of the .m code. Like when you are writing the code, they will add some more commands in that. Okay, that's how they will develop, and some GUI they will change. So some of you would have installed all the toolboxes, right? One thing I forgot. I am not going to teach, and I generally don't teach what is MATLAB and what all the commands in the MATLAB, because there are about some 200 of them and we will be covering 30-40 of them, okay. So what we will be covering is how to use these commands and how to use the debugging, so that later on when you are using MATLAB you will be comfortable learning them on your own, okay, right. So I'll teach you how to fish rather than catching a fish and giving it to you, okay. Slides are on concentrated on catching the fish, how to catch a fish, right. So not fish, how to learn MATLAB. Open MATLAB. How to open? Go to C program files. There is something called MATLAB inside that version. Inside that there will be something called bin, binaries. Go inside that bin and there is something called MATLAB.exe. Those who are in Linux version, almost the same thing, except inside bin there is MATLAB.sh, I think. So just open that. So how many of you don't have MATLAB in front of you right now? Don't have? Open na. How many are still installing? Still installing. Okay. So those of you who have MATLAB in front of you, go to File, select New, and click Script. First option, Script, or File New .m file. First option. It will open something called as an editor, right? MATLAB editor. Just open that file. Just write A is equal to 1. Go to File, Save As. Just give some name .m and save it in some directory, whatever directory you wish. Avoid saving it on the C drive. The reason is C drive is generally locked, so sometimes it will give you write access error. So try saving in D drive or try saving on the desktop. Avoid saving in program files or Windows folders. And hit F5 or run. There is a run button on the top, green color. Just run. Everyone should reach here. In the MATLAB main window, how many of you have got A equal to 1? Got A equal to 1 in the main window? Okay. So see the friends near you who have not got, help them. As long as everyone is here, we should not proceed. Okay, how many of you have done the installation and not yet got A equal to 1? Completed the installation, not yet got A equal to 1. So this is only for old versions. If you write a code in script or .m file, if you run it, earlier F5 was only run. It was not save and run. The newer versions have it as save and run. So when you hit F5, the codes are saved on the hard disk and run. Whereas previous version, the old code only will run, right? If you want to run some set of lines, you just select those many lines, right click and say evaluate selection or click F9. If you click F9, only those lines which are selected, they are executed, right? You can also run these commands in something called command window, where you would have seen a equal to 1. You can also run them there, but they will go into command history. They won't be stored on your hard disk. Okay. So the best practice is you write a .m file. .m file gets stored on your hard disk. It will remain forever on your hard disk, right? Even if you close MATLAB, even if MATLAB crashes also, the file will be there on the hard disk, right? So this for layout. For the older versions, the layout will look something like this. So for older versions, those are seeing this kind of layout. Just go to desktop layout and default layout. All 2012 earlier versions have this kind of layout, and all the newer versions they have a layout in which all the buttons are on the top. Okay, you would have got a buttons on the top. That is the default layout. Generally, you should work in the default layout, because if you change the system, it is going to be same there also. You don't have to keep searching the option. You can also customize this layout, whatever you want. You can change the size, close the windows, take them out, everything is possible. But if you do that, that is only for your system. Okay. So generally, I always work in the default layout. So the things you should observe here in the default layout, first is the command window. Command window, whenever we will be running the code, whatever display is been given for the variables and values, that will go in the command window. Second is current directory. On the left hand side top, you will see current directory wherein you are right now working and what are the files there. Okay. Third is the workspace on the right hand side. Okay. You can see it in your thing, workspace. All the variables that get the value and that are stored, they are stored in this workspace. So if you want to monitor the variables, you should see them here. It also shows the variable properties and how much size it is occupying and what are the dimensions of that variable and minimum, maximum value and many other things. You can also do variable plotting from that if you wish to. Below that, there is something called command history. All the commands that you will execute, they are stored there. But there is one command which will erase this history also. Okay, one single command is there. So generally, you should avoid running commands directly. You should store them in .m file and run. So they are there on your hard disk. And what else? Preferences and editor. Most important is your editor. So editor is what you opened. .m file whatever came, that was the editor, text editor with colors. So generally it will recognize all your main commands as colors. So if the color has come correctly, the commands are correct. Okay, so that is the front end editor. So for some reasons I generally keep my editor outside, but it is also possible to keep editor inside. You can just use one of this right hand side icon here and this dock icon, and it will just dock it with the main window. It will become one small part of your main window. But generally, because you are writing big codes and all, generally you prefer to keep it outside. Okay. Any doubts till now? Any doubts? So commenting code is done by Control R and uncomment is by Control D. You can also comment by putting a % at start of the line. Okay. You can also do it by selecting a set of lines and right click and say comment. Okay, so whichever parts of the code you comment, they are not executed. Okay, so those of you who will start getting errors and they are lagging behind, they should right now comment out this particular codes and move on, right? Rather than trying to figure out what it is. We'll see how much we can do it faster. One feature with MATLAB which is not there in most of the other languages, if you give a semicolon at the end of the line, when it is executing, that particular variable is not printed, and when you remove the semicolon, it will print the value and execute. It will execute and also print the value in the command window. So whenever you are running the code and you want to runtime monitor the values, what is happening to the variable, you can just print that variable in the runtime. Okay, this is one of the feature of MATLAB which is not there in most of the other programming languages. Okay. Preferences. There are ample preferences. On the top only you will see a box called preferences, right? Tab called preferences. So if you go inside, you will actually see lots of options there. Most of the options you rarely use it, but if sometimes you need it, then you can use it. It gives options for what solver you want to use, what fonts you want to use. Like if you are not happy with the editor font size or whatever, you can go inside that and you can change those font sizes and you can change the colors. Everything is possible, right? So if you want, you can do those. MATLAB is case sensitive. So again, here also small x and capital X are different. Many times people get this error, okay, they will write a small variable somewhere in some other file, they will by mistake write one variable like capital character, and MATLAB will keep giving the error undefined variable, and they can't figure out why it is undefined when I have defined it. So the most common error is you would have done somewhere one capital small. Okay, so make sure if you are using small, everywhere you use it small, right? 3 useful commands. One is close all. So all the figures right now whatever are open, they are closed. Okay, when we will be doing figure plotting, multiple plots, we'll use this so that your previous figures are closed and new figures are plotted. Clear variable. So clear is a command to clear a variable. So whichever variable is defined, we define a equal to 1. So a was one of the variables. So if you want to clear it, you just say clear space a at the start of your .m file, or you can do it in command window also. You can just run clear space a, the variable will delete on its own, right? It is also possible to clear all the variables. The command is clear space all. This is very, very useful when you are doing multiple executions. Many times what happens is you run code once, okay, you modify the code, you are running again. Sometimes it will take the old values, whatever were from the last execution. If you don't want those executions to affect your current execution, all you do is in your .m file just put a clear all. So all your previous variables are out, whatever is there is the current execution, okay. So sometimes this is used, but sometimes it is not used also. Like if you want to do multiple runs simultaneously and all like that, then you don't use this clear all, okay. CLC is for clearing the command window. Many times this will happen, you run a code, you get an error. You try changing something, you run again, exactly the same error comes and you are not sure whether it was because of the previous execution or this execution. You don't make out that easily. So easy way is just put a CLC, so your current command window is clear before the execution and you are sure that this error is because of this execution only, okay. So CLC is generally used for that, right? Help command, MATLAB is one of the best softwares when it comes to help, okay. The way they have written help, okay, there are very few softwares in the world who are competing with them when it comes to help, okay. Every command that you are executing, they will have a very detailed, nicely written help associated with it, okay. So the way to get help is you just go to command window, type help space the command name, just put a enter. It very in detail gives you what is that command exactly going to do, what parameters it is expecting, what values it will be returning, what types it is accepting, and what are the different variations of that command you can use. So many times for a particular command you can pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters. Is based on how many parameters you are passing, it will execute it that way, and all this is given in help, right? And very nicely written help. Alternately, you can also go to last tab, help or something is there on the top. Just click help and there also you can search the command and the same help is displayed there also, okay. Help will also generate, if you open the help, we'll see the help command once. In the last line it will show you relevant commands. So whenever you will type help for one command, it will show you what are the other similar commands that are very similar to that command, okay. And if you click on them, that help is also displayed. There are hyperlinks, okay. So those of you who do it fast, either of the two things you should do, okay. First is you should help your neighbor reach to your point or read this help, okay. Rather than disturbing me for higher commands, do one of these two, okay. Go to command window and type. So the way MATLAB is written and MATLAB software is written is for every command that you have, there is a .m file created in the backend, okay. And like mean is one of the commands, so there is a mean.m somewhere inside, and it understands when you write this kind of commands, it will understand you are talking about that mean only. So just type this in command window, it will open your mean.m. Just try opening it. Open space mean.m. How many of you have not got mean.m in the front, not got, not got. Go to command window, type open mean.m. Okay, so those of you who have got, they would have noticed, okay, how typically a command codes are written in a big companies or any professional places. Okay, it will always start with few lines of text which is commented. Okay, any code you write, you should always write comments. You can see for writing one command, they'll write 5 to 20 lines of comments for just one line of code. And this is one of the best practice when you are doing coding. There are many people who are expert in writing codes. They write codes like anything, and after 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, when they want to go back to their own codes, they themselves cannot make out what they have written. One of the most irony of programmers. Okay, those, how many of you have done IT job? Any of you have done IT job? Okay, forget it. Those who have done IT job, the first 1 month, 10 days they will all teach you is how to do documentation for your coding. Okay, they will spend 10 days on just how to write these comments effectively, so that all the people in that company understand what they are written, how to make it uniform. So one line of code you write, generally you should write few lines of comments. Okay, for you to understand what that command is doing. It might be very easy right now when you are doing it few days later, but same code when you visit after 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, it is very difficult to make out what that variable was or what it was. So generally in help, what you write is why you have taken that variable, what units it is, and what values it is why that value is taken, and any reference if you have, like some paper you are referring or something, you should write that also, so that later on when you are reading, you should be able to make out what it was, right? One more thing is mean.m is a standard command, so you should avoid using your file names same as the standard commands. If you do that, MATLAB will throw a warning saying I found original mean.m and I found your mean.m. Generally it will take care and it will execute your mean.m, but if inside your mean.m you have used a command called mean, it will just throw an error saying you are confusing me, saying should I run your file or that file. So generally you should avoid using standard names and you should avoid using spaces. Okay, underscores are allowed, you should avoid spaces. Typically variables are declared in this way, but not a standard convention, but whenever you have matrices or matrix, use capital letters or first letter capital. So the moment you are reading your own code, you know it is a matrix. Okay, and for vectors it is small characters, and generally I, J, K are used for indices. Just do help on that command. If it is a keyword, it will give you the help. Help is only given to the keywords, commands. Help space mean. Just do command window, do help space mean. So if that mean already exists, it will give you the help. If it is standard command. Okay. And it will, when you are executing, it will throw a warning also. First time it will throw a warning saying some other mean is there. So that time you can just rename your file. Okay, those of you who have opened the mean.m successfully, just close it immediately. Don't make any changes to this file. If you change 1 or 2 lines by mistake, your mean command will never work in your version. Okay, so just close this file right now. Okay, all of you have closed. Last time we got one person who had written his next code in mean.m only and he saved also. And I went and tried running it and I was thinking why this error is coming. Then I discovered he was edited the original file. So the solution was take the same file from somebody else from the same path and overwrite it. Okay, so close the file right now, all of you, those who have opened. How many Linux users? Linux? 1, 2, 5 people took the setup, now only 2, 3. Okay, go to file, first option, preferences. Go to something called keyboard or key bindings on the left hand side, keyboard, and on the right hand side there is something called keyboard bindings. Just select this option called Windows. Okay, so by default Linux, this your Control C, Control V is not for copy paste in Linux. It is Control Y and Control Z. Okay, so if you don't want to use that, if you want to use Windows key bindings, then you just change it to Windows key bindings. So in editor your Control C and Control V will start working. Okay, and by default that is called Emacs key bindings. Okay. And for this is for all of you. If your code is running and by chance it is a long code and you are not able to, it is taking too much time for execution, you want to break it. Easy way is when it is running, go to the command window, place the cursor there and just hit Ctrl C. Okay. So Ctrl C in editor has a meaning of copying, but same Ctrl C has a meaning of break the code, break the execution in the command window. Okay. So anytime you are running a big code and it gets hanged or something, your variables you can monitor and see it is not executing properly. You don't have to wait for it to stop. You can manually stop it by just going to command window, press the cursor there and just hit Ctrl C. It will break the execution. Okay. Then and there. This is used when you are doing big codes execution, like you are executing some part of the code. At some point you want to pause and see what are the values these variables have taken. So what you do is you just remove the semicolon for those variables which you want to monitor, and just next line you put this command called pause. So when you say pause, it will go to command window and it will wait for one key press. Until you hit that key press, it will not execute the next part, and this pause you can use it multiple times. Okay. So you want to execute some part of it till that point like that, you can use this command called pause. There is also something called debug mode. You can insert something called breakpoints. So here you have icons here on the top called breakpoint icons. So you can insert breakpoints on some of the lines. So all it will do is when you are executing, it will come to those breakpoints and it will halt the execution there. Okay. And in that case, there is option called continue or next step. Like the way you do typically in C language or not, you can go step by step or continuous. So this is called debug mode. But generally, very rarely people use this. They will all use this pause command and there it works. That is more than sufficient. Again, I will repeat this. If you put a semicolon at the end of the variable, it is not printed. Execution will happen, but it won't be printed on the command window. If you remove it while it is executing, it will print it. Okay, and it will print the current value. Okay, whatever it is there at that point. So right now we are starting the workshop. Okay, so try this. Go to your script.m file. Just write this first value, first line. Default variable types are double. You can also convert them to other types using these commands called uint, int, whatever, 32. Check the values for y1 and y2. So one way to check the values is remove the semicolon and run it. Other way is when you are done execution, go to command window, type y1, hit enter, it gives you the value. Okay. And there are other types. Those who will do it very quickly, just go to command window and type help space int32. It will tell you what is int32 supposed to do. Okay, just try this. And from this point on, nobody will write anything in the notebook. Write everything in the actual notebook, okay, or laptop. Okay, don't write in the physical notebook. So who is still installing? Okay, how many of you not got y1, y2? Not got y1, y2? Not got. I'll repeat it again. If you put a semicolon in the end of the line, the variable is not printed. If you remove it, the variable is printed. Okay. So how many of you have got y1 as, what is the answer? 3. Not got y1 as 3. Not got. How many of you got y2 as 255? Minus 255. 0, 128, minus 128. Any of you? Anyone can tell why it gave 0? No. It cannot be, the execution cannot depend on a semicolon. Huh? Any one of you can answer why 0? Louder. So typically what this command is doing, x1 was a double variable with a value 3.4, floating point double. When you use int32, it will do integer 32 bit. Okay, so the values are 2 raised to minus 31, minus 2 raised to 31, to plus 2 raised to 31. That is the range it will take typically for 32 bit. And for uint8, the values are 8 bit integer unsigned. So values are 0 to 255. Okay. So because we gave a negative value, the answer came to 0. This is one difference between MATLAB and Scilab and the way they think. Okay. In Scilab, this unsigned integer range is taken as minus 127 to plus 128. Okay, so if you execute the same command in Scilab, the answer will come out to be minus 2. Okay, because for them the values are minus 128 to plus 127. Okay, minus 127 to plus 127. Here MATLAB will say unsigned means it should not have a sign, so they will interpret as 0 to 127. You can also try uint 16, 32, right, unsigned integers. There are ample other commands which you can try, right? Any doubts on this? No. Okay, so that's how we define vectors. Okay, typically semicolon is given to go to the next row. Okay, so when you do 1, 2, 3 with semicolon, it will create a column vector. Okay, and when you give normal comma or space, it is taken as a row vector. Okay, so the second one will be row vector, but I made it a column vector by using something called as a dash mark on the top, which is a transpose. Okay, so it will y2 equal to minus 1, 0, 1 will create a row vector. I have put one transpose, so again this will also become a column vector. Okay, just try this. Define special. Okay, so these are commands for getting special vectors. So once is a special vector of the dimensions that you have defined with all ones, all entries are ones. So this is generally used when you want to initialize large matrix or vector with a big dimension. You don't have to manually keep typing 1, 1, 1 like that. You can just use these ones of 3, 1, so it will get 3, 1. 3, 1 are random values. You can use anything of your choice. Okay. Same zeros. Zeros is for creating a zeros vector or matrix of those particular dimensions. Okay. Index vectors are generally created using this semicolons. So the command is I equal to 1 is to 1 is to 10. So the values are generated are from the first value to the last value in steps of the middle value. Okay. So the values are created 1 with a step size of 1. It will keep on incrementing till it reaches 10. So the values will be 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10. And again 1, 1, 10, these are all random numbers. You can use any values you want. You can use negative values, you can use fractions, anything. Okay, and it will generate those. So in the second example, the step size is 0.5. You can also put negative and other things also. Everything is possible, right? Just try them. If you remove the semicolon, you will actually print the values on the terminal command window. Okay, just try them. Any doubts? Last one. So I is 1 is to 1 is to 10. So it will create an index vector starting from the first value to the last value with a step size of the middle value. Okay. And 1, 1, 10 are just random numbers. You can use whatever values you want. It's your choice, right? Any doubts? This is generally used when you want to use loop, when you want to write for loop or while loop, right? Any doubts? Next vector is created using colons. It will go from first value to the last value with the step size of the middle value. Middle value is the step size. Okay, very simple. So defining array is just combination of my previous commands. So use semicolon when you want to go to the next row, and use space or normal comma when you want to go to the next row, next column. And the dimension should match. So it should not happen that your array has 3 elements in the first and 2 elements in the second, right? It should be same number of elements in each row, right? Just try this. A equal to this. Remove the semicolon. Just print it when you are executing. DIH is a command to get a diagonal matrix with these elements. Whatever elements you will define, those elements will come in the diagonal. I is a identity matrix of those dimensions. So 3 cross 3 identity matrix. If you do I of 5, 4, what it will do, create a 5 cross 5 identity matrix, and it will crop it to 5 cross 4. So generally this is used when you want to have some identity matrix of different dimensions. So diagonal elements will still be 1, all the non-diagonal elements still be 0, but the dimension will be cropped to whatever dimension you want it. Okay. Try them out, remove the semicolon when executing. So how many got A1 correctly? A1 correctly. How many got? Any doubts? Okay, these are some math operations. Raise 2 is a symbol for getting an exponent. Star is for multiplication. you can do matrix into vector as long as dimensions are matching. You can do matrix into matrix, matrix raised to power, matrix raised to -1, that is inverse of a matrix. There is this special operator called dot star, so that is element by element multiplication. Okay. So if you give two vectors or two matrices of exact same dimension, so y1 and y2, what it will do is first element of the vector is multiplied with the first element of the second vector, and answer will be in the answer, like first element of the answer, and it will do element by element. This is not a proper matrix multiplication or vector multiplication, but this is generally very useful when you are doing masking. So if you have a vector in which you want to only see the first values, all you do is mask it with 1 and all zeros. So if you do this dot star, only those values are retained in the answer, other values are masked with 0 or whatever values you want, right? And special symbols have default meaning. So if you want to use pi, it has direct meaning pi, right? So you can just do pi directly. You don't have to write 3.14 or anything, right? Just try them. So this is one feature of MATLAB or any software language. It will either give you error or it will give you the output. It will never happen anything in between. And again, I should appreciate MATLAB. The way it reports the error, again they are one of the best softwares when it comes to reporting the errors. Okay, so whenever you will get the error will be on the same line or one line previous to that, and error will very clearly say what is the error. Okay, they will clearly say undefined variable or undefined function or some undefined command, something like that. Very precisely they will tell you what is the error. Okay, just read that error and you should be able to make out what is it, right? If bracket is missing, it will say that also, okay, some missing bracket, that is the error it will report. So, and it gives you line number, you can click, it is a hyperlink, you can directly go to that line where the error is. So that also is possible, right? So just read the error, those of you are getting the errors, from the error you should be able to make out what you are doing wrong, okay? Just try them out. So most of you would have got error for this a dot y2 for a very reason. A is a matrix of double and y2 is an integer. We defined y2 as an integer. So one of the ways is you clear that y2 or you convert it to a double. So the way to convert to double is you write y2 equal to, in round brackets you write double and again write y2. So that integer will again become double and then you can multiply. Or define any other y3 with 3 cross 1 and then multiply, either ways, right? Any doubts on this? How many of you got A inverse correctly? A inverse correctly? How many of you not got? Not got A inverse? You have defined A, 1 second. A is defined. One disclaimer I should tell you right now to everyone. All the commands in the slides are tried and tested and working with any version after 2008A. Okay, all the things work. If there is space given there, you should write the space. You should not try your own commands. Okay, what are written, write as it is. So one thing he has done, he has written A is equal to square bracket 100 100 semicolon something semicolon something, and what it became was a 3 cross 1 vector instead of a matrix, and he gave A inverse or A star A, which is of course not valid. So it will obviously throw an error saying it is not matching. Whatever spaces are given, follow them.
A star y2, but I'm getting an answer.
Dimension y2.
I am getting, that's what I.
Y2 dimension. It has to run. It has come, na?
Yeah. So it's okay. You
Okay,
were
no?
saying right now that.
No, some people have defined y2 as integer, so those were getting the errors. Okay, this is reading the first column. So typically matrix are stored with its indices. Okay, so you want to access the matrix, the commands are when you write A of colon comma 1, colon stands for everything in that possible, all the possible values. So all this will read is A of 1 1 2 1 3 1 4 1 till the dimension is there. Okay, so when you say A of colon comma 1, it will extract the first column. When you say A of 1 comma colon, it will extract the first row. Okay, and you can also overwrite it. Like if you want to only write the first column or first row, all you have to do is write that particular variable, say equal to an exact same dimension, something else you write, When you do that, rest of the matrix is retained. Okay, it only changes the values that you are changing. All the other entries are retained as they are. If you want to change one particular element, you just write that a of 1 comma 2 equal to minus 1. So only 1 comma 2 element will be changed to minus 2, minus 1, and all other values are retained. Whatever previous answer it was, it will be retained. End is a special variable. It's like if you don't know the dimension, there is a command to get the dimension. We'll see that. But if you don't want to waste that command and use that command, simply we just do a of colon comma end. What it will do is read the last column of that matrix irrespective of whatever is its dimension. Okay, and a of end comma colon will give the last row. If you want the last element, it is a of end comma end. So dimensions are automatically decided, and it will do a of end comma end. Even if it is not a square matrix, it will do this. Okay, it doesn't have to be a square matrix. This end is interpreted as the last value, large value it can take for that particular entry. Okay, just try this, and if you remove the semicolon, it will print it actually. Just print it also. Just remove the semicolons. For all the slides, you can remove the semicolons. Write all the commands in editor. Write it in .m file. If you run, there is a command for clearing history, that is clear history, I think. So if you do that by mistake, whatever you have done till now in MATLAB version, everything will disappear. Okay, so don't write it in command window directly. Write all the commands in .m file. Okay, .m will go with you. Okay, it will be stored on your hard disk. It will go with you. History may get erased if you run one command by mistake, or if you reinstall the MATLAB software also, history is gone. History is overwritten peacefully. But .m file, if you write, .m file is never overwritten. Like it's your choice, your file. Okay, so aij element will access the ijth entry of the array. There is a command called size, which will return the size of the array. Okay, size of A. It will return number of rows and number of columns, which you can use it when you are doing a for loop, and we'll see a for loop later. Length will give the length of the array, so it will generally give maximum of number of rows or number of columns. Generally length is used for vectors. Okay, you want to do a for loop over a vector, you don't know the dimension, you just use length, get that answer, store it in some variable, and run your for loop on that. So that we saw colon I equal to 1 is to 1 is to colon 10. So instead of 10, you give this R or C, whatever. That's how you typically run a for loop without knowing the dimension. This is one interesting feature. If you are running a bigger code and you want to see all the values, you want to store all the values over the time. Okay, so there are multiple ways of doing that. So one of the ways is you append the array or matrix also you can append. So the way to do is, right now x is 1 to 4 in the first place. Okay, I define x1, which is I take x and I append it with 2, 3, 5. So all second will become is 1, 2, 4 and 2, 3, 5. So I use my previous x and I append with it 2, 3, 5. I can also do this again. So I can also do x1 equal to again x equal to this. If you run it 2 times, it will become x1 equal to 1, 2, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5. Okay, it will keep on appending. Okay, previous value. This works provided dimensions are matching. Okay, you can append with the same dimension only. You cannot append 3 cross 1 with suddenly some other dimension. That is not possible. Okay, you can append with the same dimension. So this is useful when you are wanting all the values that have been taken by that variable till now. Okay, right? Just try this. And if your x is having some other meaning, you can use clear space x, right? Or open a new .m file and just write this. Either ways. Don't get into troubles ki x was something else, now x is something else, and it throws an error. Right? Hey, yesterday I told LaTeX hates spaces. MATLAB likes spaces. Okay, so make sure you give the spaces. MATLAB has very significance for spaces. Okay. This is one feature in MATLAB which is not there in most of the other programming languages. It's called multidimensional arrays, and multi-dimension means it can be anything. Okay, there is no upper limit as to how many dimensional array you can define. One example is given here of a 3-dimensional array. So 3-dimensional 3 cross 2 array. Okay, there is no limit on how many dimensions on right, on left also. So the way you read or write the multi-dimensional array is, you do a of colon comma 1, that is the first 2 cross 2 or whatever dimension you have, that array in the front. The second one is a of colon comma 2, that is at the back, that is the second 2D array. These two together they form a 3D array, okay, and you can read and write using the same variable name. This will work provided the dimensions are matching. Dimension on the right hand side should match. You can go to higher dimensions. What given in the last is the 4-dimensional array, in which you can write it as a of colon comma 1, that is the first 1, element of the whatever dimension array you have, that is the front. Then you can have a of colon 1, 2, here a of colon 2, 1, behind that a of colon 2, 2, and again 1, 2. These are only random numbers. You can go to as many dimensions as you want, okay, and you can also go higher dimensions than this. So you can go a of colon 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, whatever you want. But reading and writing, you have to be little careful when you are using the indices. Many times it can get into troubles, right? But all these are possible. So generally we never use beyond 3. Max is used is 3-dimensional. If you want to use more, generally you create a new variable, right? Rather than getting into troubles, right? But this is very much possible. So generally, if you want to store some array with respect to some 3-4 parameters, then you can do this. Like third can be third parameter, fourth can be other parameter, and so on, right? So just remember this, right? Very simple. How many of you do statistics? Okay. There is a command called random numbers. You can play with random numbers. Command is rand. Rand2 will generate a number of elements which are whatever you are given. Okay. So when you give rand of 2, it will create 2 numbers with mean as 0 and variance 1, covariance 1. Okay. Mean is 0, variance is 1. It will create 2 numbers. Just try this. And you might want to create a new file right now, because this x will start comparing with previous x and it will start getting errors. So better create a new .m file and start writing in there. Okay, so rand will create a random numbers, whatever numbers you are given. Rand 3, 2 will create a 3 cross 2 matrix of random numbers with column wise mean as 0 and column wise standard deviation as 1. There is a command called norm rand, which will create a normal random numbers with distribution normal, with first value given as the mean, second value given as your standard deviation, with the dimension given in the third. Okay, so this will create a 2 cross 5 matrix with 0 mean and standard deviation 1. Again, all these numbers are random. You can use your own values. Okay, just try them in some new file or directly you can try, your choice. So those of you who have run this first, how many of you have run this first part, first command correctly? Seen the values? First, x equal to RAND bracket 2 bracket complete run. How many of you are not done? Not done. Why not done? Okay, so those of you have noticed the values. Ideally, the mean should have been 0, so the value should have come 1 positive and 1 negative. Okay, unfortunately, if it gives 1 positive and 1 value negative of exact same value, it is no more random because it is dependent on other, right? So generally the objective is to keep the mean to as low as possible, but it will never be equal because the randomness is lost. So generally these commands are true. This mean is 0 when you take large sample size. Okay, so when you will generate 10 or 100 or 1000 numbers, you will actually see the higher the numbers you will generate, the mean will go more towards 0, more towards actual value. Okay, so in case of 2 numbers, you will not be able to, you will never get 0 in fact mean. Okay. Okay, so this is a command to get the mean. We generated random numbers earlier. We want to check what is the mean. So we just use this command, mean of whatever variable or vector or array also you can do. So it will generate a mean. There are other commands like mean, minimum, maximum, standard deviation, covariance, median, sum, right? You don't have to write a for loop to get a sum. Direct command is sum of, you just give the variable, it will throw the sum, right? And if you have done help on the mean command, if you go to command window, if you do help space MEN mean, these are all the commands that it will show on the last slide. Okay, because these are the relevant commands related to the mean. Okay, right? So you don't have to remember ki what is the command for standard deviation. If you know any one of them, you can just do help on that. It will show the other values, right? It will show the other commands. If you click on those commands, it will show you help for that command also, right? They are all hyperlinks, right? These are two different commands. Like right now what we have done was we just took a variable, initialized to a value. Okay. Now many times it might happen ki you don't know what is the initial value and you might want to take it from the user itself. Okay. So the command is called input. So what you do is v1 equal to input of one message which is given in a single quote. When you run this, it will go to command window and it will all wait for one value to be entered. Okay, anything to be entered. So whatever you will enter in the command window, that will be stored in v1. Okay, and I do operation on v1, sum 2 v1 v1, and I just display the value. So there are multiple ways of displaying the values. So one is you just remove the semicolon on in front of v2, but you don't know which value it is printing. What is v2? It won't print v2. It will just say answer equal to something. Okay. So if I want to give a message also and print that value, the way to do is you just use this command called display, give semicolon, first give a hyphen, in a hyphen you give the message, whatever message you want to print, and you can say display of my variable. So instead of v2 it will print the value. Alternate way is you just display a message and then say fprintf followed by a single quote, say %f, %f is for printing the floating point value, /n is for going to my next line, new line, and I just say v2, it will print the value v2, right, as a float, right. How many of you have used C language before? Not used. Okay, used any of the C, Fortran, Java, what else, .NET, C++? Not used any one of them. First time doing programming in life. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how come more as okay, so these people will find it little difficult. The reason is all the programming languages are very similar. Okay, it's just some syntax will be different. The original objective of all the languages was same. It was to do programming to do something. So the way, if you have noticed, that fprintf is exactly like C because it's exactly taken from C language. Okay, fprintf command is taken from a C language. So there is fscanf also. You can use that instead of input. You can use fscanf. Okay, so yeah, fscanf is there. These commands are taken from C, and you can also do C language coding in MATLAB. You can also do Fortran coding in MATLAB. That is also possible. Okay. In fact, some of the MATLAB codes are running in backend is C language, and C, Java, and Fortran. These 5-6 languages it is using in the backend compilers of these 5-6 languages. All of them it supports. It's very big software, no? Fortran is some 100, 200 MB, 500 MB. This is some 5 GB, 10 GB, everything it will support. If it doesn't support, it will be insult to that company, no? This is not supported. So everything it supports. So try this. Just try this. So how many got display correctly? Display correctly. How many got? How many not got? Not got. Do it fast. What is the error? Somewhere single quote you would have given wrongly. If you give one single quote wrongly, it will give error. Otherwise it has to work. There is nothing to get error in this. Right? Who has got errors? Errors. Right? Very simple commands, very useful. So we'll go into graph plotting. So what I am doing here is x equal to 1:1:100. So I am creating 1:100 with a step size of 1. Second step, I am creating a sine wave. Sine, cos, tan, these are standard trigonometrical functions. Sine of 2 pi x by 20, 20 is the frequency. They are stored in y1. I am plotting x comma y1, very simple. I am creating a cos function with frequency 40. I am plotting x comma y1, x comma y2. So the way you do multiple plots simultaneously is plot, give the first x-axis y, second x-axis y, and as long as these two x-axis are same, it will do the plotting properly. Okay. Alternate way is you do x, y1 with some parameter. You just do help on plot. Okay, once you are done executing this, just do help on plot. It will tell you what are these parameters. So the character typically used for color. Okay, so when I say G, R, these are for green, red, blue. These are the colors that will come for the waveform. When you give star plus any of these characters, they are the plus character will come at the point. Wherever you have a sample point, one plus will be drawn there. And this dash and colon, these are used to get the dotted line or continuous line or whatever. So dash is used for getting a continuous line through the curve. Dots are used for getting a dotted line. You can have dot dash, that is also possible. So that third parameter is that, and any of these combinations you can do, which is your choice what combination you want to use. To know what are all the options available, you just do help space plot in the command window. It will tell you all the possible options available for giving the options. Just try this. How many got the plot? Got the plot, last plot. Green and blue. Green and red. How many got? Okay, those of you are going at enter value, you are still executing the previous code. Okay, just forget that code, just comment out or create a new file, write this and run. Okay, or just go to command window, type something and enter and run. Okay, either ways. This was just plotting the graphs. This is called decorating the graph. Okay, now you had a simple graph in which there was nothing else. So you have to give title to the graph, you have to give x label, y label. Grid on is like it will create a backend grid. Legend will create legend in the on the right hand side which says my first color graph blue or whatever we gave is sign 1, like sign is my name. Second legend says sign 2. So this curve types, whatever way the curve type is, one sample of that is taken and sign 1 the label is assigned to that, and this is done automatically. Okay. One interesting command in this is called hold on. So what that will do is, when you are doing for loop or multiple executions, you want your previous plots to be hold, okay, and you want on top of that your new plot should come. So if you do hold space on, the previous plots are kept and on top of that new plots are plotted. Okay. Hold on is it will hold the previous plots. If you keep hold off, by default hold is off. When you plot every time in the same figure, the figure is erased to a white figure, and whatever currently you are plotting, only that plot will be shown. So when you say hold space on, your previous plots are held, okay, as it is. On top of that current plots are plotted. Okay, right? And all of these commands have to be executed after plotting command is done. Okay. Once you do plotting, after that you have to execute these plots. Then it will recognize ki these titles and all to be applied on the figure which you just now plotted. Okay. So those who have done the plotting, you can try these commands. Title in round bracket single quote, give the title, whatever name you want to give. If you run it, you will see the title in your figure actually. Okay. Title, X label, Y label, grid space on, hold space on, legend, LEGEND followed by single colon, single quote, inside that your whatever text you want to write. This is one interesting feature called subplot. So what we did was we had two graphs in the single plot, right? So what this will do is it will create a array of the plots. Okay. So subplot command is to get an array of the plots. So in a single figure, it will create small plots. Okay. And the way you do this is you say subplot m comma n comma current figure. Okay. So when we say 2 1 1, it will create a 2 cross 1 plots, 2 into 1, matlab 2 plots it will create. When we say 1, it is the first plot. Okay, the way they are done is row wise they will be numbered. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 like that. Okay. So when I say 2 1 1, it will create a subplot matrix of subplots. Okay. And right now I want to plot in 1. So I say 2 1 1, it will plot the x comma y1 in the first plot. When I say 2 1 2, it will plot in the second. If by chance you want to edit the first plot again, again you say subplot 2 1 1 and you do plotting again. So then it will take the cursor again to the 2 1 1 plot and it will do plotting. If you want to retain your previous plot, just do subplot 2 1 1 and say hold on. So when you say subplot 2 1 1, it will take the cursor there. When you say hold on, the previous plot is retained and then you do your current plotting, whatever you want, okay. And this subplot can be used as many times, you can keep switching between the figures. Right? And once you do a subplot and a plot, you can again use this title commands and all. So this x label, y label, these commands are applied on the subplot, that particular subplot where your cursor is right now, okay. So instead of plot, there are other types of plot. Those of you have done help on the plot. If you do help space plot, other types of plots are you get stem, bar, stairs, hysteresis and many others. Exactly same the way you will see it in Excel. Okay, in Excel you have different types of plots, right? So all of them are here with different names. Okay. So if you do help space plot or help space stem or any one of them, you will actually see the other types of plots it will show below, right? Any doubts on this? Any doubts on this? What is box plot? You want to get a box outside. Stem will not do, stem should do, no? Just do help space stem. See all the options. Try one of them, all of them. Yeah. Just try first and third. Any of you did it successfully? What was the trick? How many of you didn't get error on hold on command? Didn't get any error. So what is the trick? Okay, so the trick was on should be in small. I had deliberately put that on in capital. Okay, just to check how many of you are actually doing it here right now. Okay, so those of you who got errors have run it properly and they are doing what I am telling you. Those of you who could correct can be my volunteers next time because they are trying something else. Those of you who have not done and not got any errors are not doing right now. Okay, so it's 1/3 right now. Good. So command was hold space small all. On should be in small. Then only it will work. Okay. How many got subplot correctly? Subplot correctly. How many getting some error? Getting some error. Why are others not trying? This is for symbolic math. So all of you, those of you who have x as a variable, just clear the x. Just say clear space x because till now it was a variable with a value. Here we are defining x as a variable, not a value. Okay, symbolic variable. So when you say syms x, it will create a symbolic variable called x without any value. When you say y equal to x plus 2 star x plus 3, it will create y, which is multiplication of this in terms of x, variable x. Okay, this is called symbolic math. When I say solve for y, it will solve for values of x for which y is 0. By default, whatever parameters we are giving inside that are made equal to 0 and it will throw the values of your x. Okay. So when you say solve of y, it will do x plus 2 into x plus 3 equal to 0. So it will throw the values minus 2 and minus 3. Okay. Solve is also having an alternative which is solve for y given this condition. So when you say solve of something in the first place, that is called a condition. So it will solve for y given a condition that 2x plus 3y is equal to 3. Okay, and again these 2, 3 are random numbers, you can use whatever you want. Okay, so it will solve for y in terms of x with a condition 2x plus 3y equal to 3. So what answer it will give is y is equal to 3 minus 2x upon 3. It can give you that in terms of symbolic variable x. Okay, and roots is a command to get roots of a equation. Okay, so here it will give x square plus 5x plus 4 equal to 0. Okay, simple. These are just coefficients of a equation. 1, 5, 4 are random numbers. You can give random as many numbers as you want. You can give as many dimensions as you want. You can solve any nth order equation also. Okay, it will just throw answer roots of a nth order equation. Okay, those many coefficients you just have to give. Okay, just try them, all of them. just clear your variable x. Okay, it should not be a value. Okay, it should not be a variable previously defined. Okay, just try these values. All the 4 commands, try this. You can remove the semicolon, it will print the values of the answer. Okay, those who are having 2010 onwards version, 10 and above, if SYMS is not getting recognized, symbolic math is run backend by a Java plugin. Okay, so you need to install Java runtime environment, JRE. Just go to java.com, just click download, just install the Java plugin, JRE, Java runtime environment. Then only this SYMB command will work. Okay, SYMS, sorry. Right? Any doubts? This is for doing complex numbers. If you define I with something, the original meaning of I is lost, right? So just do clear space I. When you do clear space I, the default meaning I has is square root of -1. It's an imaginary number by default, and you can use it as you wish it. Okay, so you can do x equal to 2 plus 3i. You can do manipulations, right? Something upon something, anything you can do, any expression you can write. You can also write matrices of imaginary numbers. That is also possible. Okay. When I is cleared, it has a default meaning called imaginary number. Okay, right? So nothing much to do in this, right? It's very straightforward. Just remember I, if you define I as a variable, the default meaning is lost. If you want to give some other j as I, all you do is j equal to sqrt square root, that is the command, square root of -1. So if you do j equal to square root of -1, j will actually become your I. Okay. Alternately, you can clear the default I, it will get the meaning imaginary, right? Very simple. This for solving set of linear equations, right? You have set of linear equations Ax equal to b, right? You give matrix A, vector b, it will solve for Ax equal to b, it will throw x. So command is A reverse backslash, what is that called, I don't know, or this is backslash, I don't know, b. If you just do, it will throw answer in x, and generally what this will do is it will try to find the least squares answer. Okay, so if you give set of 3 non-intersecting lines and ask it to solve, all it will do is it will try to find the point that is nearest to all these 3 lines. Okay, it will find the shortest error point in that triangle. Okay, and if you give intersecting lines, then there is a unique solution, it will just throw that answer. Okay, x will be vector, so whatever dimension b is having, same dimension x will come, right? A has to be square, A need not be square, A can be anything. You can give any dimension, as long as dimensions are consistent, it will solve the answer, right? Okay, so EIG is a command to get eigenvalues and eigenvectors. First, what is written is eigenvectors in V, and in second D what is written is eigenvalues in diagonal form. Okay, so when you give any matrix, you can try this, right? EIG. So last 2 slides for today. This is if-else loop. If-else is a condition. You define a variable. You say first condition if, check for condition. If condition is there, all the statements till it encounters next else or end are executed. Okay, so whenever this condition is satisfied, all the lines are executed. There is no like need of giving any brackets or anything. When I say else if, here I am opening one more if, okay, and I am giving one more condition. I am writing some other set of values, commands. Then I am writing a else. Then I am writing again few set of lines. Then I am writing end, and number of ends that I am writing should be exactly equal to number of separate ifs that I have. Okay, so here I have one if outside. Here I give else space if. Okay, so that is a separate if by itself. So I need to give one more end. It is also possible to do single else if. Okay, single if loop in which you give if, else if without any space. So if you do else if, this else if is just part of the previous if. Okay, so you can do if, else if, else if, else if, else if without any spaces, and in the end you can give else. Else is optional. In the end you need to give only one end because you never created a separate if. Okay, the number of independent ifs have to be same as number of ends at the end. Okay, just try this and tell me value of y. Once you execute this, it should give a value of y. again clear the x, because previous slide x was having a symbolic variable meaning, here x has become value again. Okay, either clear x or use some other variable. Make sure a condition is on that new variable only, not on the previous variable. This is for loop. Generally, if you want to run something repeatedly, you just use a for loop, and here I am doing sum equal to 0. I am doing for loop on I, which is I equal to 1 is to 1 is to 4. So it will generate a index of 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will do sum equal to sum plus I. So first time it will add 1, second time it will add 2, third time 3, fourth time 4. In the end, the answer should be sum equal to 10. Okay, at the end of the for loop, simple for loop. Okay, and you need not write just one statement, you can write multiple lines. Whatever comes after for and before end, everything is executed sequentially. Okay, and when you are doing sum equal to sum plus I, if you remove the semicolon, at each iteration the sum value is printed. Okay, so initially you will see sum is 1, second time 1 plus 2, that is 3, third time 6, and fourth value will be 10. Right, so all 4 values will be printed. You can also write multiple lines inside it. It is not like only one line you have to write. You can write as many lines as you want. And second example is of a nested for loop, in which I am doing for loop on I, which is 1 is to 1 is to 5, for loop on j, which is 1 is to 1 is to 3, and I am defining a matrix called A of ij with values as I minus j. Okay, so I am using this indices inside that and creating the values of the matrix which are I minus j. So it will take the runtime values of I minus j and it will create that A, and if you actually print, you will get a matrix of 5 cross 3, right? So you can just try printing this. You should get a which is 5 cross 3 with these values. Okay. And one common mistake which most people do in this is, if you have loop on I and if you have loop on j, sometimes they will use, instead of j, they will forget, if it is a bigger code, they will again use I somewhere, and if you use 2 times I, it just gives the error because it was expecting that particular previous I. So generally you should not use the same index again unless you are explicitly needing. Okay, you have to be very careful when using these names, and these are also useful when you are using bigger codes, you are calling some functions and all, your indices and all sometimes start playing with each other. Okay, because outside they have some meaning, inside they have some other meaning. So make sure you are having unique names as far as possible, right? And if you want to check the value at each point, you can also put a pause. So if you want to see at every run inside the for loop, you can put a pause. Just press hit enter, once run is done, hit enter, one run is done. Like that you can see the values also, monitor values. Alternately, you can remove the semicolon, everything will be printed when you are running it, right? And inside for also you can use if, inside if also you can use for, everything is possible. Okay, as long as you are consistently using number of fors and number of ends. Okay, so for and end should come in pair, if and end should come in pair. As long as number of ends are matching number of those lines, it will never give error, it will execute whatever you are told. Okay, any combinations you can, it's your choice. You can have 3-4 for loops also, that is also possible. As many for loops as you want, you can have. Okay, 115, these are again random numbers, you can put anything, you can put variables there also, you can use some other variable previously defined, that is also possible. Okay. So you can generally, when you want to do matrix computations and if you are not sure of the dimension, generally people do I is equal to 1 is to 1 is to size of a comma 1. Okay, so when you do size of a comma 1, it gives number of rows, size of a comma 2 will give number of columns. So you do first on a of 1 is to 1 is to size of a comma 1, second j on 1 is to 1 is to size of a comma 2. So when you do a comma 2, it is like number of columns. So this will automatically run for whatever dimension it can be, it will run for it. You don't have to manually do. Otherwise, you just do I comma j is equal to size of a and then use this ij whatever you just now got. Okay, you can do on that, right? Okay, so this was my last slide for today. Okay, I will do one summary of this in 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, so this was MATLAB Workshop start to end. Okay, we saw what is MATLAB. Pronunciation is MATLAB. Full form is Mathematical Laboratory, Matrix Laboratory. Written in capital. It has versions for Windows, Linux, Mac, 32-bit, 64-bit. Open source version is called Scilab. You can install more than one MATLAB versions. Just give a different installation path. You can have .m code or .mdl file. .m is the text-based code. .mdl is the Simulink. That is the graphical mode of doing things. Infinite toolboxes. This slide we can skip. This slide we can skip. Default layout has something called command window in which values are displayed. Command history in which history is stored. Current directory is where your files are stored. Workspace is where your variables are stored. Editor is one where you write your codes. Simulink is the graphical user interface which we'll see tomorrow in the end. Commenting code is done by %. Use of semicolon at the end is done for not printing the values. If you remove the semicolon, values are printed, okay, while executing. MATLAB is case sensitive. Small and capital makes difference. Close all command is used to close all the figures. Clear space variable name is used to clear the variable. Clear space all is done to clear all the variables. CLC is done to clear the command window. Okay. Help is used for getting the help on the command. So in the command window type help space command name, it will throw you the help for the command, right? Typically every code is written with lots of comments, right? Control C is done for breaking the execution. Pause is used for pausing the execution at the current point where you have put the pause, right? That's how we defined variables using values. You can do data conversion. That's how we define vectors. There are special vectors called ones and zeros. You can define index vectors. You can define arrays. You can define special arrays using command called diagonal I. This is how you do matrix and vector manipulations. That's how you read and write your vectors and arrays. A of ij will change the corresponding element. Size is command to get the size. You can have multi-dimensional arrays, right? Rand, non-rand, these are commands to get the random numbers. Mean, standard deviation, covariance, these are commands for getting the values. Input is done for taking the input from the user. Display is used for displaying the value to the user. Plot command is used for plotting the curves. Title, X label, Y label, grid, hold, legend, these are used for decorating the figure. Subplot is to get a grid of plots, right? You can get much grid of plots as you want, array of plots. SYMS is used for getting a symbolic math, right? And you can use command called solve or roots to run the manipulations on the variables. By default, I is an imaginary number, right? You can use complex number with its meaning. A/B is used for solving the set of linear equations. If-else loop is used for checking the if condition and doing the execution. For loop is used for writing the for loop and doing the multiple executions, right? So thank you.